The gunshots started on a Tuesday afternoon at Valley West Mall. Shoppers screamed, ran for exits, dropped to the ground. But while 200 people panicked, one man moved differently, calmly, precisely, like he'd been waiting for this moment his entire life. What happened next defied everything you think you know about heroes. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Before we continue with this incredible story of split-second heroism, tell me in the comments from which city you're watching today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. We're revealing the footage that almost stayed classified forever. But before we show you those 47 seconds that stopped a massacre, you need to understand who David Chen really was. Because the man shopping for his daughter's birthday present wasn't who he appeared to be. David Chen looked exactly like what he was. A 54-year-old accountant from suburbs, slightly overweight, thinning hair, reading glasses hanging from a chain around his neck. He drove a Honda Civic, coached Little League on weekends, and hadn't missed a single parent-teacher conference in 10 years. What the security cameras couldn't show was what lived behind those tired eyes. 20 years earlier, David had been Staff Sergeant Chen, United States Marine Corps scout sniper. 3 tours in Iraq, 2 in Afghanistan. 127 confirmed kills across some of the most dangerous operations of the War on Terror. His longest recorded shot, 1,247 meters through a sandstorm in Fallujah, saving an entire convoy from ambush. But David never talked about that life. Not to his wife Susan, not to his teenage daughter Emma, not even to himself if he could help it. He'd built a new identity around spreadsheets and soccer practices, deliberately choosing the most ordinary life possible. What David didn't know was that in exactly 6 minutes and 23 seconds, all of that training would surface whether he wanted it to or not. The day started normal. Emma's 16th birthday was 3 days away, and she'd been dropping hints about wireless earbuds for weeks. David had promised to pick them up after work, along with ingredients for her favorite cake, chocolate with strawberry frosting. Valley West Mall on a Tuesday afternoon was quiet. Most kids were still in school, most adults still at work. Perfect time to shop without crowds, the way David preferred it. He'd learned to avoid crowds during his tours overseas. Too many variables, too many angles to watch. Old habits. David parked in Section C, 3rd row back, close enough to the exit, far enough from other cars that nobody could approach his vehicle unseen. He locked the Honda, checked the lock twice, and walked toward the main entrance with the measured pace of someone who automatically scanned for threats even when buying birthday presents. Inside the mall, David had no idea that Marcus Torres was already there. Marcus had been planning this for 3 months. Marcus Torres, 23 years old, had been researching mass shooting tactics online for months. He'd studied Columbine, Virginia Tech, Sandy Hook, not for school, not for work, but for inspiration. He believed the world had wronged him, that society owed him recognition, and that violence was the only language people understood. He'd chosen Valley West Mall specifically because Tuesday afternoons had light security and multiple exit points. He'd mapped the layout, timed the security guard rotations, and purchased his weapons legally across 3 different states to avoid detection. Marcus thought he'd planned everything. He hadn't planned for David Chen. David entered through the north entrance, immediately noting 3 security cameras, 2 emergency exits, and 1 uniformed guard stationed near the food court. Muscle memory. He couldn't turn off 20 years of tactical awareness any more than he could stop breathing. The electronics store was on the 2nd level, accessed by escalator or elevator. David chose the escalator, better visibility, multiple exit options if needed. As he rode up, his eyes automatically swept the upper level. Family with stroller, teenage couple holding hands, elderly man reading newspaper on bench. All normal, all safe. David found the earbuds Emma wanted. Rose gold wireless, noise canceling, exactly what she'd shown him on her phone 17 times. He compared prices at 3 stores, checked online reviews on his phone, and finally made his purchase at Tech World. David was walking toward the down escalator, small shopping bag in hand, already thinking about cake ingredients. In exactly 60 seconds, his world would explode. Marcus Torres entered the mall through the south entrance moments later. He wore a black hoodie, dark jeans, and carried a large duffel bag. The security guard was on break. The cameras captured him clearly, but nobody was monitoring the feeds in real time. Marcus took the elevator to the second level. His plan was simple. Start shooting in the most crowded area, move systematically through the mall, maximize casualties before police arrived. He estimated he had 8 to 12 minutes before SWAT response. He unzipped the duffel bag in the men's restroom and assembled his weapon. AR-15 style rifle, 30-round magazines, 180 rounds total. Enough ammunition to kill dozens of people. But plans, David had learned in Iraq, rarely survive first contact with reality. David was 15 feet from the escalator when the first shots rang out. Pop, 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 pop. The sound was unmistakable. David had heard thousands of rounds fired in combat, knew instantly this wasn't construction noise or a car backfiring. This was rifle fire, close range, inside the building. While shoppers around him froze in confusion, David's body reacted before his mind caught up. 20 years of combat training activated like a switch. In the next 47 seconds, David would make 13 split-second decisions. 7 of them would save lives. 1 of them would change his family forever. David dropped his shopping bag and moved toward the sound of gunfire. Not away. Toward. Every instinct screamed to protect innocent people, the way he'd protected Marines in Fallujah. Moments later, he spotted the shooter 40 meters away, firing into the crowd near the food court. Tall, black hoodie, military-style rifle. People were screaming, running, falling. A woman pushed a stroller behind a concrete planter. An elderly man couldn't move fast enough. David assessed the tactical situation in milliseconds. Shooter had high ground advantage, multiple escape routes, clear fields of fire. But he was exposed, focused on targets below, not watching his flanks. Amateur mistake. David had exactly one advantage. Marcus Torres had no idea a Marine sniper was hunting him. David began moving, not running, moving with purpose. He used the chaos as cover, staying low, staying quiet, closing distance while the shooter reloaded. 20 meters. David could see Marcus clearly now, young, sweating, hands shaking slightly as he fumbled with a fresh magazine. Adrenaline was making him sloppy. David had learned to use adrenaline differently, to focus it, control it, make it sharper rather than shakier. 15 meters. David spotted a maintenance cart abandoned by fleeing custodial staff. Heavy, wheeled, perfect improvised weapon. He began calculating angles, momentum, timing. Marcus finished reloading and raised his rifle toward a family with 3 small children cowering behind a bench. They were completely exposed. Sitting targets. David had 3 seconds to act. David launched himself in the maintenance cart simultaneously. 200 pounds of Marine momentum behind 150 pounds of metal equipment, covering 15 meters in under 2 seconds. The impact was devastating. Marcus Torres never saw it coming. The cart hit him center mass, driving him backward into the railing overlooking the first floor. The rifle flew from his hands, clattering across the tile floor out of reach. But David wasn't finished. As Marcus tried to regain his footing, David was already on him. 20 years of hand-to-hand combat training compressed into 3 seconds of controlled violence. Right cross to the solar plexus, dropping Marcus to one knee, left hook to the temple, disrupting his balance. Takedown maneuver, driving Marcus face first into the floor with his arm twisted behind his back in a position that would snap his shoulder if he resisted. "Don't move," David said quietly. His voice was calm, professional. "Security is coming. If you try to get up, I will break your arm. Do you understand?" Marcus Torres, would-be mass shooter, could only whimper his agreement. Total elapsed time, 47 seconds. The mall fell silent except for crying, shouting, and sirens already wailing in the distance. David maintained his hold on Marcus while scanning for additional threats. Training dictated never assume a single shooter until the area was cleared. But what happened next shocked everyone, including David himself. A voice from the crowd. "Dad?" David turned his head and saw Emma, his 16-year-old daughter, standing 30 feet away with her friend Madison. They'd come to the mall after school to look at birthday party venues. Emma was staring at her father, mild-mannered accountant, Little League coach, man who got nervous speaking at PTA meetings, kneeling on top of an armed gunman like he'd done it 1,000 times before. which, in fact, he had. The police arrived in 4 minutes, SWAT in 7. By then, David had secured Marcus Torres's weapon, checked the immediate area for additional threats, and administered first aid to 2 wounded shoppers, both of whom would make full recoveries. Detective Ray Morrison was the first to interview David. 20-year veteran of the force, he'd seen every kind of hero and wannabe hero. David impressed him immediately. "Sir, what you did was extraordinary," Detective Morrison said as they sat in the mall security office. "That was textbook tactical response. Military background?" David hesitated. He'd spent 15 years avoiding this conversation. "Marines," he said finally. "Long time ago." "How long?" 20 years. Detective Morrison studied David more carefully. "What was your MOS?" David knew there was no point hiding it anymore. Not after what Emma had seen. Not after the security footage that would be analyzed frame by frame. Scout sniper. 3 tours Iraq, 2 Afghanistan. Detective Morrison's eyebrows went up. How many? 127 confirmed kills. The room went quiet. Detective Morrison had worked plenty of veteran cases, but he'd never met anyone with numbers like that. "Why didn't you shoot Torres? You had multiple opportunities to take lethal action." David looked through the office window at Emma, who was giving her statement to another officer. She kept glancing at him with the expression he'd never seen before. Not fear, not disappointment, but something like awe mixed with confusion. "Because," David said, "I'm not that person anymore. I stopped being that person the day Emma was born." But that wasn't entirely true, and both men knew it. The security footage told a different story. When analyzed by FBI tactical experts, David's response was rated as flawless urban combat engagement and textbook close-quarters neutralization. The way he moved, assessed threats, and controlled the situation was exactly what he'd been trained to do in Fallujah and Kandahar. David Chen, suburban accountant, might have put away his rifle 20 years ago, but Staff Sergeant Chen, Marine Scout sniper, had never really left. What David didn't know was that his 47 seconds of heroism would change everything. Again. The story went viral within hours. Security footage, with victims' faces blurred, was broadcast on every major news network. 47 seconds began trending on social media. David's photo appeared on magazine covers with headlines like "The Hero Next Door" and "Hidden Warrior." But for David, the real challenge wasn't media attention. It was explaining to his family who he really was. The conversation with Emma happened 3 days later, on her 16th birthday. They sat in their backyard, wireless earbuds forgotten, while David told his daughter about a life she'd never imagined. "Dad," Emma said after he finished, "were you scared?" At the mall. David considered lying, considered telling her what she wanted to hear, but Emma deserved the truth. "No," he said, "I wasn't scared, and that's what scares me." Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then, "How many people would have died if you hadn't been there?" David had run the numbers. Based on Marcus Torres's ammunition, position, and intended targets, FBI analysts estimated he could have killed 23 people and wounded 40 more before police arrived. "A lot," David said. "Then I'm glad you were scary, Dad, just for 47 seconds. David Chen still works as an accountant, still coaches Little League, still drives a Honda Civic and forgets to take out the trash on Tuesday mornings. But he also consults with local police departments on active shooter response. He's spoken at military academies about urban combat tactics. And he's learned to live with the fact that sometimes the person you used to be is exactly the person people need you to be." The wireless earbuds Emma wanted for her birthday. She never opened them. She keeps them in their original packaging on her desk, next to a photo of her father from the mall security footage. "My dad," she tells people, "is a hidden legend." Marcus Torres was sentenced to life in prison without parole. During his trial, psychiatrists testified that David's rapid intervention likely prevented one of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history. 47 seconds. That's how long it took a suburban dad to stop a massacre. That's how long it took for 20-year-old training to surface when it mattered most. That's how long it took to prove that heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they wear reading glasses and carry shopping bags. So I ask you, who are the hidden legends in your community? Who are the people with extraordinary pasts living ordinary lives, ready to step up when disaster strikes? Share their stories in the comments. Help us honor the warriors who walk among us, silent and humble, until the moment the world needs them most. Because here at Hidden Legends, we believe that the most powerful stories belong to people who never intended to be heroes. They just couldn't stand by and watch evil win. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, subscribe and share it. Help us keep these hidden legends from staying hidden. And remember, the person sitting next to you might just be exactly who you need them to be.